busted my wife cheating. I'm at a loss on what to do. I'm completely at a loss on what to do. There had been warnings, but I chose to disregard them. It happened to me because I was blinded by love and had no clue it would happen to me. No way, not with her, my wife and best friend of more than 2 decades, who is my rock. I had to work out of town today and wasn't due to return until later in the evening. We were scheduled to go on a 2-week road trip the next day. Because things were moving slowly at work, I decided to come home yesterday afternoon. Following a summer filled with visits from family and friends, we were looking forward to some alone time on our holiday. It was strange to see a strange automobile in my driveway when I returned home. My next-door neighbor recently inquired as to how I was enjoying the new automobile, but I believed he was mistaken and ignored the subject entirely. As soon as I saw the automobile, I got a terrible gut feeling about it. Despite the fact that I loved my wife and had complete trust in her, the emotion stayed. In order to get to our bedroom window, I snuck around the back of our house. It was wide open, and as I got closer, I could hear them talking to each other. When I looked out the window, I realized that my worst dread had come true. They were sitting right next to me on my bed, completely undressed. I walked away from the table. I've been fighting the urge to do something that I know I'll come to regret later. At this point, I'm not sure what will happen to me or how I will feel about it. I went to my family's cabin for the night and drank whatever I could find there. I was on my way home today, contemplating confronting her, when I changed my mind. I'm not prepared for this. All I can think about is how enraged I am at the moment. I can't seem to get the thought of violence out of my head. Right now, I'm not in a good place to do anything. The fact that she was there wasn't good enough for me. Right now, I'm back at the cabin with my family. For the last hour, I've been staring at a 60 Oz bottle of rum. Becoming drunk and forgetting everything is something I wish to accomplish, but I do not want getting so inebriated that I make poor decisions. I recognize that I have reached a turning point in my life, and that the decisions I make in the next days will have far-reaching consequences for the rest of my life. That is the reason I've come. I'm in desperate need of aid. Instead of talking to my family or friends, I'm going to complete strangers for help. This whole world is a farce. Edit. I'd want to express my gratitude to everyone who has reached out to me. I'm not quite ready to talk at this time, but I appreciate the comments and offers that have been sent my way. I just want to read all of the wonderful advice I've gotten while I figure out what I'm going to do next. Regarding you/Cookie 3215, who wrote me awful, cowardly PM, criticizing me and claiming that my wife enjoyed it. You are in worse need of aid than I am. You're just not bright enough to see what's going on. For the time being, I've decided not to drink the rum, but it will remain around for reference. I got in touch with my brother, who is already on his way and should arrive in a few hours. My wife has just contacted me to tell me how much she loves me and how much she is looking forward to our vacation. I haven't decided how I'll respond yet. After writing this, seeing the encouraging comments and private messages, and having a brief conversation with my brother, I'm feeling a little better today. Thank you to whomever it was that sent me the link to the suicide prevention hotline. There is nothing wrong with me. I'm just careless to the point of being potentially harmful. Thank you once again to practically everyone who has contributed. Update. The amount of help and advice I've gotten has been incredible. I got worked up just thinking about how many kind individuals there are out there eager to assist a stranger. It gives me hope for the world at a time when I most needed it. The disadvantage of all of this help is that I am finding it difficult to react to individuals. I have over 600 unread private messages and many hundred unread comments. I want to thank everyone personally, and I will make an attempt to do so, but it will take time, so I will simply start by saying thank you everyone for their lovely words and useful advice. It means a great deal to me. I've seen a few comments and queries that keep coming up, and I wanted to clarify them in addition to my modest update. If you can't tell, I'm doing much better today. The discomfort was nearly totally gone. I still feel like I've been hit in the belly, but I began to look forward. This doesn't feel right to me after 2 days. Is this the quiet before the storm, or am I simply unusually strong? Regarding the questions and comments I've received, here are some cliff notes to help explain several points. When I stated wife and best friend, I meant the 2 roles my wife performed in my life. The other man wasn't even my closest buddy or someone I know. I didn't get a good look at him, but based on a fast scan in his car, I don't think he is someone I know. We don't have any children. We did, however, intend to have them shortly. We just sold our home and were planning to relocate closer to my workplace in September. When the new owners took possession, I'm going to thank my neighbor, but I'm going to do it quietly, just as he did for me. Many folks have asked me about the signals I mentioned overlooking. Here are a couple ideas off the top of my head. Was texting at an unusually late hour. I went out with buddies for drinks after work on a regular basis. This was unusual for her, but I was relieved that she was being sociable. She went to yoga once a week, but it didn't seem that she was paying for it since one of her workers was the instructor, and she volunteered to help with the setup and cleanup. In addition, I thought she was excessively strict for someone who claimed to practice yoga. The phone is answered by an unknown caller who then hangs up. If we are together, we often answer each other's phones. She got a phone call from an unknown caller on many occasions, and each time she answered, the caller would immediately hang up. We get a lot of spam calls, but the most majority of them are from telemarketers or debt collectors, looking for the previous owner of the phone number, with just a few outliers being calls that are simply disconnected. The update is still in the process of being completed. When my brother arrived, we engaged in a long discussion. My actual best friend, he has always been there for me without condemnation, and I realized that I needed to remember that and know that he would always be there for me without judgment, just as I would be there for him. Even when we disagree, he actually sets the standard for what it means to be a true friend. Due to the fact that I was supposed to be home last night, I decided to respond to my wife's text message. Due to the fact that we were not authorized to use phones on site, it seemed acceptable that I was just texting her. She is aware of how easy it is for me to smuggle in some messages here and there. She received my response in which I explained that I had been called to one of my company's remote sites and would not be able to reach her until the end of the weekend. I told her that I would be canceling all of the reservations and rescheduling them at a later date. Then she proposed that she may bring her best friend with her to the romantic bed and breakfast on a vineyard that I had planned for her for the weekend. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be the best friend she had led me to think it would be. Delivered that it was a non-refundable payment, she was told that I had already given the money to my brother and his wife, and that they would reimburse me within a month. This morning, I canceled all of the bookings with the exception of the romantic one. My brother is with me. It was a blessing in disguise that the hotel enabled us to move from the honeymoon suite to a room with 2 double beds. There's also a fairly excellent lake nearby with boat rentals, so this turned into a long overdue fishing trip with my brother for the 2 of us. It follows from this that I will be accessible during the weekend. I won't have to write or talk to her for a few days, which has alleviated some of my anxiety and provided me with more time to think about the situation. Getting a divorce is something I'm seriously contemplating. It's difficult for me to look at it any other way at this point. My brother is on board with this, but he has asked that I hold off on communicating with anybody for a few weeks until after the election. I'll be able to talk with his wife on Monday, since she has a friend who works as a couples counselor and is accessible. I don't believe it will alter my way of thinking, but it may be able to assist me in sorting out some of this muddle. I'm also taking a lot of the advice on this site and have begun to speak with lawyers about my options, in order to at the very least be prepared for what I feel will be inevitable. I'm concerned about getting things done right. I never imagined her as someone who would try to take advantage of me, but I also didn't expect her as someone who would cheat, so I think I should be prepared for anything at this point. Thank you all once again for your assistance. I want to make the most of my weekend to the best of my ability.